Hey, this is John F. of They Might Be Giants, and you're listening to Nate on the Vinyl Guide.
Hey there, record heads. Make sure to check out bagsunlimited.com for your vinyl record supplies. Bagsunlimited.com supplies record stores and collectors around the world with protective sleeves, archival storage supplies, record storage boxes, protective vinyl shipping mailers, and tons of other durable solutions that'll keep your records safe for years. Just go to bagsunlimited.com and check out their audio and record supplies. That's bagsunlimited.com.
And now, on with the show. Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Well, here we are. Hey, everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 464 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds and everyone. We are thrilled, absolutely thrilled today to have with us John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants. John and I are going to be talking about their upcoming sold-out and quickly selling out tour of Australia, the story behind They Might Be Giants' last trip down under, and how John's car accident impacted their plans. John and I are also going to dive into They Might Be Giants' unconventional, innovative, forward-thinking approach to the music industry, from being early adopters of the gift economy to pioneering tech to their beloved dial-a-song service. Plus, John and I are going to talk all about Napster, Spotify, the resurgence of vinyl, and John's going to be sharing some insights into the return of They Might Be Giants albums on vinyl, and much more. We're going to talk all about it today. And hey, I'm reaching out to the newbies who are listening to the show, perhaps for the very first time. If you are just discovering the Vinyl Guide podcast, we wholeheartedly welcome you and your ears today. This is episode 464, which means there are 463 other episodes you can enjoy for free anytime. From our recent interview series with Henry Rollins, episodes 461 and 462, to the return of Red Cross, episode 454, our very own tour of the Punk Rock Museum with Fat Mike, that was episode 428. Matt Cameron of Pearl Jam and Soundgarden joined us to talk vinyl, episode 425. Mark Maron was with us, episode 400, and lots more. And it's all free. Just hit the follow button on your podcast app of choice, and you'll get access to all those episodes anytime you want. Okie dokie. Without further delay, let's get into our conversation with John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants. Ladies and gentlemen, this week we are honored to have Mr. John Flansburgh of They Might Be Giants getting ready to come out to Australia, metropolistouring.com. A lot of the shows are sold out. I'm not sure why you need me to talk about it.
Most of them are sold out, and we added a couple, so hopefully that will solve some of the problems. But yeah, everything's going great. It's going to be a great tour.
Yeah. So there's still tickets for Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne. There's an extra show just added. Perth. I'm looking at you, Perth. You guys are always complaining, bands don't come to Perth when they come to Australia. Well, they're there, and there's tickets available. Again, metropolistouring.com. John, when's the last time you guys were in Australia?
I think it was in the mid-teens, and it was very successful and super fun. And but I don't remember the exact dates. I wish I had a better head for that, but I can look it up online. It was a glorious tour, and then right as we were sort of planning on coming back, the whole pandemic thing happened, and I feel sorry for myself.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I know some people had bad pandemics, but my pandemic was unacceptable.
Yeah. What made yours extra shit?
No, it wasn't extra shit. I'm making fun of people who think they're special because they had a bad pandemic. I did get hit. I was in a car that got careened into and broke 12 ribs, something like that. I broke a ton of ribs and was in the hospital for a long time. Do we have 12 ribs? I don't know. Do we have 12? No. I think I broke 9 ribs in 12 places.
Ooh.
So, but I'm not sure how many ribs we have. It was an adult portion of rib breaking, I can tell you.
You were eating barbecued ribs while you were driving, so those broke too. So that adds up to 12.
That would have been even better.
So, John, look, They Might Be Giants. I've always admired the band so much because you guys have always been so ambitious, interested in creating different approaches to music. And well, I'm trying to avoid the word alternative. I think it's overused, but it's actually kind of appropriate. You guys have never been shy about pioneering an unconventional direction musically and in connecting with the fans. Is that fair?
Yeah. I mean, I think the truth of the matter is we're not like, what we're doing is a little bit left of center. It's not going to be for everybody. It's we're not, there's a kind of a personal sensibility in it. There's just some humor in it for some people. Like, just on paper, everything about what we do would drive, some self-serious rock people away. And I think we just always knew that we'd have to be our own advocates. Like we'd have to try, we'd really have to find an audience. And we've been sort of fortunate in that we relatively early on, without too much effort, we did find like-minded people, and we've been pretty tenacious about trying to hold on to them. So.
I guess what interests me most, and I'm a bit of a nerd as well, like you guys were in the news groups early on. You guys embraced digital music and digital distribution early on. You do unconventional things, and it's really quite clever. So you guys always seem to be ahead of the curve in a lot of these, I guess, technological advancements.
Yeah, I mean... we've done a lot of sort of early adopter things, and just to sort of give things a chance. We never did anything with CD-ROMs, though, I have to say. But we did have this dial-a-song service early on, and that I think really sort of set the stage for how we would approach all potential platforms to work in. And it was interesting for us because we weren't just a new band out of New York. We were almost like something else entirely. Like I think a lot of people didn't even think of us as a band so much as a telephone line. And that was an odd, there was you would hear music, but you wouldn't necessarily go like, oh, I wonder what they're like live. It was just like, it's this, you're just calling up a phone machine and hearing sounds, and it's like, oh, this is an interesting, weird experience. But it was not exactly, I don't know. I guess part of it is like we understood the idea of the gift economy kind of before, in an era where it was just still major labels and maybe trying to get on MTV. Like it was just not, things were not wide open. People weren't thinking about profiling bands in that way. In fact, the truth is major labels hated things like our quote brand was so established before we even got signed that I think a lot of people at Elektra who were in the business of sort of, selling bands and framing bands on a mass cultural level, were kind of annoyed by. Like I think the publicity people and definitely the video people were like, we want to do things a certain way. Like we want to set you up in a certain way, but you're so you're kind of established so far over to the left of a lot of popular tastes. It's hard for us to make it seem like you're a natural fit on, modern contemporary radio, or like, things that are, they were trying to figure out how to get us on playlists with Bonnie Raitt, so I get why it was sort of annoying to have a band with so many preconceived notions. So there's, sympathy for the record industry.
Well, I like how you said the gift economy, because that's very appropriate, because record labels are used to trying to monetize anything. Why are you giving that away on your dial-a-song? You should be selling.
Oh, exactly.
That. Yeah,
exactly. There was a lot of sort of abstract fear, but also like it was a very 21st century way of presenting a band, and we were very squarely in the 20th century when we started.
What role did dial-a-song play in the popularity of They Might Be Giants?
Oh, it was absolutely huge. We started doing dial-a-song in probably 1984. We got signed to an indie label in 85, and the record came out in very early 86, and that's when things really took off for us. And there was also, the whole explosion of college radio across the United States, that the whole world of what's now called alternative rock really started there. And it was like, whether it was like, the Replacements or Husker Du or 10,000 Maniacs or, Jonathan Richman or us, or, just put in the bands of the mid 80s that emerged in that space. We were all very much on the same circuit. We were all just like rolling down the road, playing for the same 200 people in, Columbia, Missouri, or, or Nashville or Austin, Texas, or whatever. Like there was very much a circuit of clubs. But what helped us so much was Dial-A-Song was this kind of calling card where even if we weren't getting played on the college radio station, the word would get around that there's this thing, and people would just call. People would call in the middle of the night. People would call. It gave us a kind of an aura of mystery and sort of a notoriety and a notoriousness that was just kind of you just couldn't you couldn't plan it. You couldn't make it up if you were trying.
And for people who may not know what we're talking about here, Dial-A-Song, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it was a phone hotline that went into your New York apartment, and there was a machine that you guys just maybe every week or so you'd change the song.
No, we changed it every day.
Every day. Oh my gosh.
We changed it every day, and we had a suitcase. We had an old suitcase of my mom's. It was just filled with cassettes. There were probably 30 or 40 cassettes in there of songs that we had recorded, some of which were like truly unlistenable, like really weird, three-eyed songs. And some of them were really good, and we had a healthy rotation going, and we kept on, we were always sort of adding to it. It was kind of like, it was like a project to like try to keep it fresh, and try to always keep whatever the stock of songs that were in the suitcase, try to sort of improve the batting average of the songs. I mean, one thing that happened is that because we had this phone machine, it was in my apartment in the kitchen. And every time it went on, it would go like ka-chunk, and you'd hear the sound. And there was this thing that if somebody didn't want to bother listening to the whole song, it would just go ka-chunk again and rewind, maybe 30, 20 seconds, 25 seconds after they started listening. And that was the harshest critique for a number of years. It was just like, if somebody hangs up early, it's like, we have failed as songwriters, as performers, we have failed to communicate to that one person who went out of their way to call this line and listen to this recording. They just weren't they were not impressed. So it was great.
You're in the other room of your bedroom, just staring at the ceiling in the middle of the night, hearing the ka-chunks happen. Is that kind of your experience?
Well, when I was going to sleep, the phone machine also lived in the suitcase as well, because I would just close the lid on it because it was too loud most of the time.
Okay.
And it was going around the clock. I mean, we had at the height of it, I think we had 12 phone machines, and I had a very real relationship with the fellow who repaired them.
So you kept those 12 phone machines off that one phone line in New York that would come in, and that went through the early 2000s. Where are those phone machines now? They got a space in the Smithsonian or anything?
We have not been asked, but I have some in my attic. I mean, I actually, the past couple of days I've been going through cassettes, just capturing a bunch of the songs that that made the cut. And there's some really odd, interesting. So far, I've found two songs that are completely alternate musical versions of the songs, not like rearrangements, actual different songs written to kind of sets of lyrics that were obviously written, and we hashed out an idea for the song, and then it was like, the lyrics are good, but the song's not good enough. Let's do it again. And it's really odd to come across these things, because I have no recollection of these false starts at all. And there's the couple that I found are like really full blown. It's just like it's another song. It's like, oh wow, that's weird.
So, what did you guys think of Napster at the time that it was prominent?
It was a really dynamic conversation, but I have to say, pretty much from the jump, I knew that Napster was going to win the cultural argument, and it was also going to be a complete generational game changer. Like I can see that you have, a record collection behind you. I can tell you, I have, I still have my records, and I'm an active enthusiast for vinyl stuff. But that's sort of like our generational experience. It's like we like that kind of environment. But basically, I think the record industry really was asleep at the wheel when it happened, and they just were like, there's no way they just dug in their feet in this way that was so dumb, because they just lost. They had a totally unpersuasive argument. Like, it was just like, what was the argument? It's like, no, stop, shut up. Like that's not really going to change anybody's behaviors. I had friends who were musicians who were really actively pissed off about it, because they were not, in a weird way, it kind of froze a lot of bands where they were. Like, emerging bands had a much harder time getting over and making a living. Like, all of a sudden, everything was kind of frozen in. And we were already playing theaters. We already had like a very established following. So I think we kind of lucked out. But I'm thinking of a perfectly artistically successul performer that I know, whose career, like, basically, like, I think he felt like he was never able to, and this sounds kind of ugly, but it's true. He was never able to really have the professional career. Like, he had done all the groundwork of getting to a major label situation, and he was very, very much a critic's band, a critic's darling kind of act. And I think he just thought, like, this is how I'm going to be able to make my living. And then right as he was coming up, he felt like the rug was being pulled economically. The rug was being pulled out from under him, because he was never going to be able to make records with the budget that he wanted to do. He was never going to be able to make records. Everything changed. But everything changes. I mean, it's like, Irving Berlin was a singing waiter. It's like, people do what they can do to get by. It's just unfortunate that there was such a thriving, healthy, big music industry at one point, and now it's really essentially been gutted. Like, whether that makes it everybody scrappier and more kind of into it for the right reasons, will it make people who are just careerists and kind of looking for a cash grab, like, avoid being in the music business? That seems fine to me. But I don't know. I mean, ultimately, I think it's just unfortunate that people won't be able to make the ambitious sounding music projects that they want to, because they don't have budgets for it. It's like or they won't pay the people that they're realizing their dreams with.
Okay, because in the modern era, there's a lot of artists who've kind of figured their way around it and have been able to develop a name and a brand and an audience without the necessarily physical sales. Those are starting to come back, just because it's like a collectible. It's a way that people can support the artist. But I know Napster was coming out at a time where, like, Long Tall Weekend was coming out, where you guys just exited the machine. So I was curious whether you saw file sharing as an enemy or an ally.
Well, I mean, because of our experience with Dial Song, we kind of knew the upside of being kind of loose with giving stuff away. Like there's a huge upside that I think a lot of people didn't really understand. Like, there is definitely something fantastic about just not worrying about it too much, and that's a perfectly legitimate kind of position to have. I think the thing that is kind of comical to me is, when this topic comes up on a news program, there will inevitably be somebody who is an expert in the music business who will say, well, bands will just have to rely on, getting money, the money they get from touring. And it's like, okay, well, for the first 50 years of national and international touring, nobody ever expected to make any money at all. And in fact, it was actively subsidized the entire time. It was like, touring was a money pit. If you really wanted to blaze through tens of thousands of dollars in lost income, try putting on a national tour. It's I don't know. I'm perfectly honest. I'm so jealous of comedians who tour with a one Shure 58 microphone, and it's like that's it. They just get me in business class and I'm fine. It's like being a musician is an insane gig.
Mm-hmm.
But Napster, it happened. It's interesting what's evolved since then, because it certainly is it's kind of turned into almost like with Spotify, it's a very Google kind of middleman. Like the only people making money now are the middlemen. It's just like, ugh, please.
Yeah. The CEO of Spotify has 4 times the amount of money Paul McCartney has, which just seems like very. I mean,
that's so wrong.
So a band like They Might Be Giants, I mean, obviously with not disclosing anything, but I mean, does the money that from a Spotify or an Apple Music, does that move the needle at all for you guys, or is it pretty negligible?
I don't know. I mean, we've done a lot of different things over the years to kind of hedge our bets. We've got some songs on the Disney Channel that those are some nice long envelopes that come every month. Spotify's okay, but it's not. I mean, curiously, in the past 5 years, the vinyl business hasn't just kind of grown; it's really exploded. Which in my work, you hear a lot of people talking about things coming back. People be like, "Oh yeah, New Orleans is coming back, Detroit's coming back, Asbury Park's coming back." And in some cases it's like, "Oh wow, Detroit really has sort of come back. Part of it's really come back." And then Asbury Park really hasn't come back. But with the vinyl thing, I feel like for the past 15 years, you've heard people saying "Oh yeah, vinyl's coming back." But the weird thing is, in the past 5 years, vinyl has doubled, more than doubled. Anything you make on vinyl, you are selling. If you sold, 2,500 copies of it 5 years ago, you're selling 5,000 copies of it now. And that really is actually changing things for us in just a DIY, independent artist way. Our record sales are essentially through the roof, which is really satisfying and gratifying. And we've got a really big catalog, so we can sell a lot of stuff. And I don't know what else is working. I mean, we sell an awful lot of T-shirts.
Well, yeah, I've noticed. They Might Be Giants. You've been reissuing some classic LPs, Long Tall Weekend.
Oh yeah,
The Else. Is there anything that you have that hasn't been released on vinyl that maybe is in the plans?
There's a couple of things. I mean, we've been trying to figure out how to get the final album that we did for, or not the final album, the second to last album we did for Elektra, John Henry. It has only had a limited vinyl release, but unfortunately, and this is so depressing to me, all the artwork that Wea had is basically lost. And I'm not sure why that is. I know some artists on Wea who their art was not lost. I don't know if it was burned up in that fire, but we are just having a really hard time getting really good artwork together for it, because everything was designed for CDs. So if you want to do a vinyl release, blowing it up, it looks like it just looks like a smudge. So it's really hard to that the actual art component of making a vinyl record without the original art around is really kind of a drag. But
the original art's probably on a hard drive of an old Dell in the bottom of a landfill somewhere.
It is, yeah, it's definitely there probably in a few places.
Are all the tapes? Do you know where the tapes are?
The tapes are actually, anything from the 80s and 90s is usually easier to reproduce than stuff that's from digital formats. That's the weirdest thing, is that the second things went away from being physical, all of a sudden the shelf life of these files just became very sketchy. And also, the truth is, it's like with the record companies, they would always we would always get dismissed. It'd be like, let the grown-ups deal with this. Like, we've got a whole library, blah, blah, blah. And I'd be like, well, I'd just like to have a copy just for my own. Then 20 years later, it's like, if I don't have a copy of it, nobody's got a copy of it.
Right.
So.
I noticed also for Book, you guys put out an 8-track version of it.
We did. That took a very long time to get made.
Tell me about that journey, just briefly. How was that doing?
We found a guy who was doing that kind of business, and we thought it'd be fun. But he was not really geared up to do a ton of mass production. I think when we put in our order number, I think his head kind of exploded a little bit, because I think he had done runs of 100 or 200, and all of a sudden we had a run of like a few thousand, and I think it was just like more than a few thousand.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it was that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there are a lot of we've sold a lot of cassettes of things, strangely enough, and then the weirdest thing of all is that it seems like CDs might be coming back. I find it very hard to believe that CDs will ever come back. But then again, once streamers start not picking up on shows, I'm sure there'll be people who are like, you know what, those DVDs worked out pretty well.
Some of it is so much nostalgia. Just this weekend, I found a Germ CD or a Germs cassette, Germs cassette, and I was like, oh, this has got to come home with me. This is just like a weird fossil that I have to I have to rescue. Has there ever been a format you guys attempted that you couldn't complete? You ever done a wax cylinder or something wild?
As I said before, the CD-ROM was something that I think our label really wanted us to plow whatever possible royalties they might be paying us. I think they really wanted us to dedicate that to their CD-ROM development. But honestly, there never was anything about it as a format that seemed that interesting to me. It all just seemed sort of like what do you call it? Like an advent calendar at Christmas. Mm-hmm. It was about that satisfying. Like, it was like, okay, there's a little Easter egg here. There's a little thing to open up here, but that only takes you so far. Like, it just didn't seem that powerful a way to present a piece of entertainment.
Yeah, you're talking like enhanced CDs. Audio, and then
there were these things called CD-ROMs that were, essentially like flash, flash type animations burned onto CDs, CD-ROMs, video, visual, enhanced CDs, I guess would be a term for it.
Yeah, because I used to make enhanced CDs. It was audio, if you popped it in an audio player, and then there was a digital track to where if you put it in a computer, then it would be a Macromedia Director sort of experience with an interface, and you click on things.
Right, exactly. It was basically like building a website that was burned onto a CD.
Yeah, a website you couldn't update. So
yes, exactly.
Okay. So you guys never created an enhanced CD or anything like that?
No, we never. We just skipped over that part.
Okay, probably better off for it. Are They Might Be Giants working with AI at all? Hey there, audiophiles. If you're seeking stylish furniture to showcase your stereo and record collection, well, look no further then SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Sidetracked Workshop designs extraordinarily elegant record cabinets and consoles that add sophistication and panache to your music hobby. Handcrafted in the good old USA in the vinyl-loving city of Portland, Oregon, Sidetracked Workshop's designs are a music lover's dream. Made with real walnut veneered wood and brass accents, these gorgeous designs add class and taste to the record room and ship fully assembled and ready to enjoy. Just check out the designs for yourself at SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Look, you spend thousands of dollars on records. Don't keep them in a crate, and don't risk your records on those feeble wooden pegs from IKEA. Your music deserves the dignity of Sidetracked Workshop. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Elegant solutions for the vinyl lifestyle. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to GrooveWasher.com and use discount code VinylGuide10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's GrooveWasher.com, discount code VinylGuide10. Hey there, all you record nerds. I want to tell you about BagsUnlimited.com. BagsUnlimited.com has a huge selection of vinyl record supplies. Whether you collect LPs, 7-inch singles, 78 shellacs, or anything in between, BagsUnlimited.com will sort you out. From polyline sleeves to cardboard record mailers to 7-inch storage boxes and archive quality record sleeves, protect your records of any size and shape at BagsUnlimited.com. Whether you have a small personal record collection or you're running a massive record shop, you can grab a small supply or even buy in bulk at BagsUnlimited.com. And they've got some really incredible, unique stuff. BagsUnlimited.com even has special size sleeves made especially to protect your box sets, storage boxes and sleeves for cassette tapes, protective supplies for reel-to-reel, and yes, even 8-tracks. Just go to BagsUnlimited.com, click on Audio Supplies, and prepare to be impressed by all the options they have. That's BagsUnlimited.com. Are They Might Be Giants working with AI at all?
I got a subscription to one of those AI music sites, and I just like cooked up like a half dozen sets of lyrics and plugged it in just to see how it would work. And it was interesting. It made me realize something that goes on in our songwriting that comes very naturally to us that might seem very counterintuitive to a civilian. But a lot of times the spirit of the lyrics of our songs are kind of working in opposition to the energy of the music of our songs. Or they're kind of disassociated from one another. Like, I think there are probably a lot of really dire lyrics that we've written that are kind of attached to very peppy songs or highly melodic songs that seem sort of intrinsically happy just because they're melodic. If you put something into AI, if you put a lyric into an AI, as a prompt for an AI thing, the weird thing is any vibe that's translated in, that's directly communicated in that lyric will be emphasized by the song that the AI comes up with. Like they sort of editorialize musically on the lyrics you put into it, which I guess is just the way the thing is programmed. Like I'm sure you could override it if there was some override button to preset to click. But what was odd is you write a song about like feeling tired or being whatever, and all of a sudden the song would come out and just be like, I'm tired. And it's just like, oh God, it's like it's a little
on the nose,
a little much, a little on the nose. Like it seems like AI is very, very into being on the nose. Like it's a very, it's a very reductive kind of setup. But you know what's interesting? Do you know the song BBL Drizzy? It was the sampled song in the feud between Kendrick Lamar and Drake.
Okay.
One of the songs that came out was it was actually originally put together by a stand-up comedian who was working with an AI program, and I'm sure it's the same AI program that I use. I forget what it's all like vowels. It's like one letter, one consonant, and three vowels. It's like oleo or something. But this AI program, it does soul music incredibly well. Like quite specifically, it does proto-disco funk music really well. And I don't know, I suspect there's probably somebody working there who really has a real handle on either has a killer library of music to reference, but like music from 1974, 1975, in some ways, that's some real unobtainium, when it comes to like the just like the vibe you're putting down. It's like a lot of the music has strings and flutes and these sort of like quasi orchestral arrangements, like Philly International kind of music, or like just R&B of that era is so specific and overproduced in such a very specific way, and of course there's great vocals, and for some reason AI is really good at, like, the song BBL Drizzy, which has been scrubbed from Spotify, and I'm not sure why. I think there might have been some, because it was essentially the first. I mean, it wasn't a big hit, but it was an actual hit because of the feud. It's just a great song. It's incredibly catchy. When I first heard it, I was like, "Oh, what is this based on?" Because you're so used to kind of the the chipmunk soul thing, like like the Kanye West production thing of grabbing a song from the mid-'70s that people might not know that well, and all of a sudden you're just hearing this like special nugget of it. And I just assumed that this was another song. I was like, I can't believe I don't remember this song. Like, what is this song? And then sure enough, it was actually an AI song.
Because I can imagine, because the original songs as you described, there seems to be almost a finite number of rules around those songs, and they're all about the same length. They all have verse, chorus, bridge. They seem to be structured in a very similar way. So those sort of rules are probably easier for machine learning to digest and interpret than something that is much more random, or jazz, something like that.
I mean, I would think AI would be really good at ska. I would think AI would be really good at power pop, and I think or sort of hard power pop. Those things seem almost like.
It's really good at metal,
or like
or
making
metal.
like a UB4 or making like a UB40 song. I mean, there are things that almost seem like presets to me in their musical genres that feel very knowable to me. But the thing about I don't know, it's just you got to hear. I mean, you got to hear the song. I wish I could point you to where it resides. I guess you can hear it on YouTube.
I'll find it. Yeah, I'll find it.
BBL Drizzy, which means Brazilian butt lift, which I was unaware of, because it was dissing. I guess Kendrick Lamar was sort of claiming that Drake had a butt lift.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Someone took all those the whole feud and put it on vinyl, and I've seen it out there, so I'm sure that's part of it. I'll check it out. What's the strangest thing you guys have put on the merch table?
The strangest thing we have ever embarked on is actually just about to come out as a 7-inch single. When we started doing these flood shows, we decided we were going to learn how to play one of our songs sonically backwards live. So we actually, there's a song on Flood called Sapphire Bullets of Pure Love. It's a very short song. That was important because the whole task of learning the song backwards was going to be an incredible pain in the ass. And it's also very percussive, which is very useful because those percussive sounds reproduce very well sonically in reverse. Like long notes don't really play out the same way. So we felt like this was a good choice, and we all kind of parted ways with our rehearsal materials and listened to the track, and John and I memorized the melody, the vocal lines of the song in reverse, which is insane. And the band, very dutifully figured out how to do the thing that they needed to do to play the song backwards. And we rehearsed it a lot. We recorded it. We would reverse the tape. We'd listen to how we did. And we now have a pretty sturdy live version of doing the song sonically in reverse. And finally, after like a year of doing shows, you're like, let's commit this to tape. Like, let's record it. We'll do a double A-side single. And the first side A will be performing it backwards. And the second side will be the recording reversed. And so it's actually, when we do it live, we videotape our performance in the first set, and then we project it at the beginning of the second set, so people can see that we weren't just going like, when you hear it, it's like, what are they really doing? It's like maybe they're just fucking around, but we're not fucking around. It's like it's the real deal. I mean, we in a sense we are definitely fucking around, but it's an interesting experiment, and I'm really proud of the way it came out, and I think we did a pretty good job.
So it's going to be on the merch table in Australia. You're bringing some to Australia, yeah?
I'm not sure when it's coming. It's not here yet, so I'm not sure when it's going to be available. But if we have it, we will most assuredly be bringing it to Australia.
It's not a reverse groove like Jack White does, where you start the needle on the inside.
Oh, no.
Okay. All right. One stunt at a time.
Yes, exactly.
Is this going to be something maybe the Instant Fan Club is going to get, or something along those lines?
Oh, yeah. Everybody, all those people they're all getting it. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I think so.
The Instant Fan Club is, I think, a genius idea. How do you describe it for people who don't know the Instant Fan Club? How do you summarize that?
It's a secret.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you're thinking of another band, maybe?
Yes, exactly. We don't really talk about it.
Okay.
I will tell you in short, it is a fan club. Every couple of years, like cicadas, it sort of peeks its head up above the ground, and people can join because we do it in sort of seasons, or like membership, like the membership goes for a year or so. Mm-hmm. And but it's become a really big deal. I mean, we've got like I think it's over 5,000 people, and some there's different levels to it. Some people are really getting crazy. It's like they're having like a dumpster full of things delivered to their house. It's wild. It's a fan club. It's just a very elaborate, very misguided fan club.
Well, yeah, okay. So, if people Google, there's a this might be a wiki that can give a little bit of insight towards that.
Yes,
I would say
TMBW is the .net is the. They've got a lot of information.
I would offer, though, it's probably not like cicadas, but more like Skull and Bones, to where you get accepted in it, but you could also get ostracized if you try to flip things. If you take a dickhead.
Yeah, well, we've cut some people off who've done. We definitely have gotten some interlopers who were really working the the eBay, because some of the stuff is very cool and it goes for a lot of money on eBay, and we just don't need people kind of gouging our. We just don't want people gouging our fans. It's just like not cool.
Right.
But I know a guy who was in Skull and Bones. That is a weird organization.
Has he revealed anything, or he just shuts the conversation down whenever it's brought up?
No. Well, you just get enough gin in him, and he'll talk about it forever. But it's exactly as creepy as it sounds. It's like there's been a lot of American presidents involved in that thing.
Yeah, there's another Google adventure if anyone wants to check it out. Okay,
yeah.
John, I know you've been very generous with your time. Let me just ask you a couple more questions, and I'll cut you loose. 1985 Wiggle Diskette. Talk to me a little bit about this.
That was our very first release. In Hollywood, Florida, there was a place that made these records. They made a lot of them for Time Life as promotional items, and they also did the some of the work for the back of cereal boxes. It was called the Veritone Company, and you could get this like, it was a two-sided. It was essentially replicated a 7-inch record, but you could get a two-sided flexi disc made. I think the price was like 2 cents a disc or something. It was like insanely cheap. I mean, it was just like John and I were living on like 99 cents a day at that point. I mean, we had like continuous falafel dinners for 2 years probably. So we were broke as broke can be, and still the price of this thing seemed like a joke. So it was just a way, to make some records. So it was just like a nice adventure.
So you guys recorded the songs on a personal device, sent in a tape of that, and how many were pressed?
I think we made 1,000.
Okay.
As I said, they were really cheap. So it was like, it was just not that big a deal.
Yeah. And from what I understand, part of the distribution model was to nail it to stop signs and light posts around Manhattan. Is that right?
We did a little bit of that. We did a lot of flyer postering and flyer stuff. I think when it first came out, we probably taped a few up on the wall. But we sold them at like local record stores and pretended it was real. I think it might have gotten reviewed by some magazines actually.
Oh,
in spite of its obscurity.
So that's a big collectible in the They Might Be Giants universe. Another one is the first cassette out of 1985. Now, There were several different versions of the cassette, and this is the one, it was reviewed by People magazine, yeah?
Yeah, that was actually that was a very big break for us. It's hard to explain to somebody in the 21st century how big People magazine was, like an incredibly mainstream thing. Like, everybody's parents had a subscription to People magazine. And so to get a review in their sort of in the front of book part of People magazine, just, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people saw it. And, thousands of people literally sent us checks and ordered it. Like, it was very weird that it was so persuasive and interesting to people to just like, oh, there's this thing, there's a cassette I can buy. It got a great review. But it was a rave review. It really made a huge difference for us because we were just a local band. And that was actually what really tipped the scales for the indie label that put out our first record. And in a lot of ways, the 85 demo cassette, which is what I think of it as, really was the forerunner of what became our first album. So it has a lot of the same shape as our first record. And it was always evolving because we were always, popping back into a studio and recording a new song or, updating something. So we didn't really think of it as a set release, and that's why there's so many versions of it. But it has become like a very weird collectible. Like it's a big deal with those people.
And am I right to say that with the iterations you guys would do on the cassettes, you would have a different color paper in the J card? Because was that aligned? Sometimes it was like this different music in the same cover. It wasn't like we were expecting. No one was paying any attention to us. So it was like the stuff that we did a lot of stuff that was just, it was really under the darkness of night. Oh, I love those stories. John, thanks again. And we are very much looking forward to you coming back to our shores. They Might Be Giants start in the beginning of October. Adelaide, there's tickets for Adelaide. Sydney is sold out. Both shows sold out. Maybe there'll be something else there, or maybe Sydney Siders will be able to finagle a ticket somehow, but you may be out of luck there. However, Brisbane, fantastic. We got 2 shows at the Tivoli. Tickets are available, and it's a short plane ride if your town is sold out. Melbourne's got tickets, and Perth, First show is gone. Second show is selling quick. So metropolistouring.com. Don't miss They Might Be Giants. Always a fantastic show. And again, John, thank you so much for spending time with us here.
Nate, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it.
All right, there we go. I feel like I could talk to that guy for hours. Hope to have him back soon, and I'm definitely going to be catching them while they are here in Sydney. I'm putting plenty of links in this episode page where you can check out They Might Be Giants, of course, get tickets for their tour. This Might Be a Wiki. That's always a great place to drop in and spend a few hours. And if you enjoyed this conversation, you can always support us at patreon.com/vinylguide. A few bucks a month gets you access to all sorts of extra cool stuff. That's patreon.com/vinylguide. And we thank you in advance for your support. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share these episodes on social media. We appreciate you guys who are dropping them into Reddit forums and Facebook groups, sharing them on Instagram stories and TikToks. All that is very helpful and very much appreciated. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.